if the world were ending tomorrow and you could have one last meal, what would it be?
If it's a memory that I'm chasing, it's...
Can you, sorry, you can't just drop that and not explain why. So we're here in Austin and we just launched Last Meal at South by Southwest, but I want to take you today to a place called Suerte. It's like one of my favorite, if not my favorite Mexican place here in Austin. They have a dish that is definitely a candidate for a last meal for me. It's like a beef brisket suadero taco. We're gonna have a chat with Fermín Núñez, who is the executive chef here at Suerte. Let's go eat some tacos. It's happy hour. Fermín, you just said Neil deGrasse Tyson is the reason that you don't have a case on your phone.
Yes.
Tell me why.
When military use their gun, they can do all these crazy tricks with it, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't go off because they're very careful with it.
Yeah.
So if you have your phone, we have these things that are like, we spend so much money on them.
Yeah.
And then we have to put this case, so we're extremely careful.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, right.
I feel, and then I thought about it, I was like, I take better care of my phone when I know there's something more at risk because I'm more careful about it than when I've broken more phones with cases on them than without.
Interesting.
You know, like if you have a nice pen, you take better care of it than just a shitty pen.
Yeah, because you've spent money on it or something like that. But you always have the Bic, right?
I like his theory on a lot of things on how to live life. So I'm curious to hear your interview with him.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I always learn something new from like different people, creative people that are in different fields. Yeah. Because they have a different outlook on life. And I think he's a very special person in that regards, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you just have a big pen, like you're not going to care about it. But if you have a nice pen that you spend some money on, it's like you're going to care that much more about it. And like if you transfer that to other things in life, only good things can come from that.
The reason we're here today is to talk to you about these tacos, a few different elements about them.
Perfect.
That they are a front runner for one of my last meals.
Nice.
I mean, the main event is the tortilla, right?
Of course.
I mean, isn't that just...
As I believe every taco should.
Yeah, and I think with these, it's just the consistency and the perfectionism with which you guys craft these things amazes me.
We're about to find out.
What was your first experience of food growing up?
Honestly, I was a very picky eater growing up. Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
So I don't really remember as a child eating much.
Okay.
Like what was like my first like crazy experience, but
Yeah.
the first time that I think food blew my mind, I think I was about maybe 14 years old, 15, and I had my first creme brulee. It was at a hotel that at the time seemed very fancy.
Yeah.
Because it was creme brulee. But to me, it was just something special that I've never seen food taken to that level before. The cracking of the sugar.
Yeah.
The texture of the...
There's a bit of theater to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was there some sort of moment that you had that was like an aha, this is what I have to do with my life kind of thing?
Yes, it was a little bit of a combination of going to college for just needing to go to college. I was undeclared major and realizing that that was not the thing I wanted to do with my life because that was something that felt very forced. Because society makes you feel like you have to pursue a degree. I think to have to realize what you have to do with the rest of your life when you're 17 years old, I think is a little bit too much to ask of somebody that is trying to figure out what to do with their life. And then you're supposed to like, oh, you want to be a lawyer? Cool, you have to figure that out at 17 years old. That just didn't feel right for me. So I knew more of what I didn't want to do than what I wanted to do. Somewhere along that year, what I knew I definitely wanted to do in that year was partying.
Of course.
But I realized that like going to college to pay for that year of partying was very expensive, and money was not around
Yeah.
that much for me. So I ended up reading the book Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain,
Yeah.
and I said, "This is the pirate life I've been wanting to live."
Yeah. And now you're sitting across from an actual pirate, so yeah.
There you go.
It all comes around.
It's full circle, right? So I said, this is like as close as like the life that I'm kind of living now, but like getting a paycheck for it.
Yeah.
Right. And I decided to look for culinary schools. I went to college in San Antonio. I looked for culinary schools around that area. There was one, obviously there was the one in New York, Hyde Park, CIA. After looking a little bit more research, I saw how much tuition was. I realized that was not in the budget. And then I saw there was one in Houston. And Houston it's a 3-hour drive from San Antonio. Did the drive and took a tour of the school. And for the first time in my life, I fell in love with something that didn't feel like school. And it was also the first time in my life where I started doing good at something that didn't feel forced. And I fell in love with cooking for a lot of the reasons that were not necessarily explained or talked about in Kitchen Confidential. And it just felt like I was meant to do this in a way that was very natural, where I was taking homework home. Yeah. I would go after school and go buy a bag of potatoes and bags of celery to practice my knife skills.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just like fun. It never felt like homework.
That does sound like fun.
It was.
Of course, if you're really bad at knife skills and practicing that, you can see what happens. So, I mean,
there you go.
There's always pitfalls.
And that was a big turning point in my life from not knowing what I wanted to do at 17 years old, when all my friends, I mean, not they were my friends, but all my friends knew what they wanted to do with their life.
Yeah. Or thought they did, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't. To a year and a half, almost 2 years later, I was driven to knowing exactly what my path in life was. I feel very lucky at that point. You know, and now 15, 20 years later, I see my friends that went in that path. Yeah. And kind of like tables have turned, right? They're very happy with their life, but their jobs are not as fulfilling as mine are. Yeah. Or as conversation now, like 20 years later, I'm very fulfilled with my professional life. Yeah. And I think it worked out.
It's like one of those jobs where you don't feel like it's a job, like you want to go to work every day, you love it.
I get very excited to put on my shoes and get to be Chef Fermín.
Are there any members of your family that were like culinary like stars to you when you were growing up?
When I told my mom at 18 years old, almost 19, that I was going to pursue cooking and being a chef, she was like, where is this coming from? You know, and to me it was like, oh, I'm passionate about this because Anthony Bourdain said this was super cool. And then she started to see how passionate I was about this, and then she started being worried about me wanting to go and stage work for free at restaurants that were you know, there to have me there but not pay me because I wanted, not because they were asking me to do that. She was extremely confused, you know. She was like, you were not doing good in school, now you're working for free, like what is going on with you? I think she finally sees the full picture now. You know,
when you think about food, when you cook at home or something like that, are there people that you associate with making good food? Like, are there family members that you imagine providing food for that kind of inspire you in that way to make good food?
I think definitely my mom, my sister, like those are the people I want to make good food for, you know, because I think those are the people I want to impress the most, because those are going to be the ones that are going to be the most honest to me, you know. Those are the ones that know me before I was a chef, and those are the most meaningful to me.
Isn't it interesting how some of us have friends and family members who we regard as, oh, they're going to be the most honest with us, but then also there's that trope of like, your friends and your family are always going to give you accolades that you probably don't deserve, or that they're going to tell you that everything you do is good, even when it's shit. And so, like, what do you think the difference is with somebody that you love and knowing when they're going to be honest with you?
I think it's because from their point, they're doing it at a place that you are going to listen to them. and from taking it is, I receive it from a place that I need to hear it, you know, and I think that's one of the hardest things to receive and give people, you know. I think feedback is one of the toughest things to do in life, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Tough conversations aren't easy.
Yeah.
If they were, they would be called easy conversations. You know.
What's a lesson that, had you learned it earlier in life, would have changed it for the better?
Listening. I think that's the toughest thing to understand. I think when you're younger, you know, and I see it, how much it would have helped me, but I also think it's the rite of passage of growing up, because I also see it in the young people I get to mentor nowadays, where I try to tell them the hints that were given to me along the way of coming up as a chef, as a young adult. But it's also a rite of passage of making your own mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, that's the thing I wish I would have done better, but I also don't know, because
You don't know the opposite.
I'm very lucky and happy to be where I am right now. But maybe if I would have listened a little bit more, I would have avoided some mistakes that were not very fun to go through.
If the world were ending tomorrow and you could have one last meal, what would it be?
That's always it's a question I've gotten asked a lot, and I think that the answer changes so often. The thing right now, recently, and it's always surprising to people because it's never Mexican food.
That doesn't surprise me, actually. For knowing chefs, I didn't expect it to be what you cook.
Really.
Yeah.
I want something simple, because if everything is ending, I want it to be taken to a place of not what I'm eating, of what is reminding me of. It's memory, you know? So if it's a memory that I'm chasing, it's a flour tortilla with cheese and ham, glass of milk, glass of chocolate milk. Because that's what I would...
Can you, sorry, you can't just drop that and not explain why that might be. Go for it.
Because that's what I would eat when I would... in Mexico, it's called sincronizada, which is a quesadilla with a piece of ham in it. And a glass of milk, chocolate milk, because like as a kid and when I was sick, that's what I would eat.
That's like a Mexican croque monsieur.
When I was when I was about to start feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that to me is like a warm hug, right when things are about to get better. And if the world is ending, that's exactly what I need.
Okay.
I don't care what I'm eating.
Okay.
You know, and if it's chasing flavor when everything else is going wrong, a perfect roasted chicken deli tricker. So, you know, you asked me for one answer, I gave you two.
With me traveling the world searching for my last meal, and I've eaten at a few places here in Austin. If you couldn't pick this place, but you had to go somewhere in Austin in search for your last meal, what would be your recommendation?
For me or for you?
For me.
For you. I mean, I think if something that represents Austin at its true core, I think it has to be barbecue, you know, and I think there's so many places that do it well that you can't really go wrong. I think some of my favorite ones, definitely Franklin is the one that I think has started it all. I love barbecue. I think they do an amazing job. Leroy and Lewis does an incredible job. Distant Relatives. I think those are the ones that do a great job of taking a different point of view, but still being true to the classics.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with any of those.
Okay.
I don't think I can choose just a single one out of all the ones that they're amazing.
All right, I'm gonna go try some barbecue later in this week.
You have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, most foods I prefer the street food version. Every now and then, you have a version of something that just blows your mind. And every now and then you got to treat yourself. You got to have the Michelin star version of the street food. That's what this is. Oh, fuck my life. Right in its face. Disgusting. I hate it. I never want to see this again. I want to erase this from my memory. I never want to have eaten this. Actually, that's it. My life would have been better if I'd never had this taco. Not because it's bad, but because it's one of the best tacos I've ever had in my life, if not the best. And my life would be better because it would not have made every other taco as shit as it appears to be in relation to this. Go away, I'm eating.